I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kelly, and we are back with another video. If you are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. If you are into true crime stories, news, and politics, I think you would enjoy the channel, and I would greatly appreciate you for showing me that support. And if you are a returning listener or subscriber, thank you as always for being a friend. I really appreciate you guys, and if y'all could interact with the channel, like the video if you like it, give me a comment. It really does help me out, and I thank you in advance, guys. So I wanted to come on here and just talk to you guys about this story because it's been blowing up. I'm sure you guys have heard about it to some degree. If you have not, then it's definitely an important one to know. So, have you guys seen The Sound of Freedom? It is a movie that is very important in this moment that we're living in time, and it has been kind of blowing up to the disdain of a lot of mainstream media people and people that don't want to see an end to human trafficking, and particularly child trafficking for the purpose of sex. They don't want to see that end because of the financial windfalls that may come, because at the end of the day, it is a billion-dollar industry, probably multi-billion-dollar industry. So we're going to talk about that movie, but more specifically, the person, the inspiration behind that movie, who is this man, Tim Ballard. And I wanted to talk about his actual story and, you know, not just what was portrayed in the movie, but actually who the real man is, and show you guys what it is that he does, because I think it's very important. Hopefully this video does not get blocked on YouTube, or like, I don't know, y'all, like last time all I did was talk about a Balenciaga ad campaign, and literally my video was taken down, and I think I was given a strike. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm trying to tread lightly here, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to put on YouTube, but if there is parts that I cut out, I will link the Rumble link for the full video in the description, guys. So bear with me. Like I said, you know, I'm going to try to tiptoe around certain things because I just don't know what YouTube will allow. So let's start off with this. Hopefully they will allow the trailer, which we're about to play, for The Sound of Freedom. And again, I will stress to you guys, if y'all have not seen this movie, you need to go and see it, because it is such an important film. And not only that, but it was really actually good. It was very sad, so be prepared if you do go see it, but it's definitely worth it. So let's get into that real quick.
I don't think I can do this job, Tim. As soon as I lay down, all I see are those kids' faces. How long you been doing this? 12 years. How do you do it?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What will we do?
Shivering stars drift around in the sky.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
I like all
This job tears you to pieces. This is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids.
She could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. What if this was your daughter?
Wherever I go, I find my way home.
So utterly amazing, guys. Very, very, just, it's such an inspirational film. It really does show you all of the different things that people just don't think about, and they don't talk about them, and they don't want to talk about them. Like I said, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, most of the time people want to bury their heads in the sand. You know, they don't want to talk about what's really going on in the world or the hard things that are going on, because it doesn't touch them. It doesn't actually come close enough to their real lives for them to care or put any sort of, you know, worry behind or any sort of thought behind, because, you know, people have a lot going on in their lives, and I get that. We all do, you know, everyone does. But the thing of it is that, yes, like, everyone's life is hard and nobody wants to take on more than what they already have. But if you don't make it your business to take on more than, you know, the problems that you have in your own personal life and just what's happening in your very small knit, you know, tight-knit circle, then eventually everything around you is going to get corrupted, and everything around you is going to turn to rot, because this stuff, evil, is so easily spread. And that is what the message of this movie, I think, was, or one of the messages was, that, you know, there are far-reaching corners of the world where atrocities are happening every single day. And just because we don't talk about them or think about them on a daily basis doesn't mean they're not happening, and doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to bring awareness or even do something about it whenever we can. So it's a hard topic, you know, it really is, and I'll give you that. And it's hard for anybody, even people who, you know, want to go out of their way to do stuff. You know, it's just one of those things that it's uncomfortable to think about. So, but I definitely suggest going to the movie. There's ways to get free tickets. Like, people have, you know, you can apply to get a free ticket, because people, like Christians, have gone and, like, paid it forward, bought free tickets for people to go and see it who can't afford it. So definitely find a way to go do that, guys. So without further ado, though, let's get into the story of Tim Ballard. Okay, guys, so Tim Ballard grew up in California, and he's actually of Mormon faith, so he is a Christian, but specifically a Mormon, and so he grew up as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he served a 2-year mission in Chile, which probably gave him a lot of inspiration for what he currently does, and probably opened up his eyes to a lot of these problems. But he did a Christian mission in Chile, and after completing this mission, he attended and graduated from Brigham Young University with a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish and Political Science, which, if you guys don't know, Brigham Young is a specifically Mormon college. So a lot of people who go there are of the Mormon faith. So he has also been married to his wife, Catherine, who was, you know, somewhat featured in the movie, or at least the character Catherine. So she was portrayed as a very understanding and supportive wife to this man who has this very crazy job where he basically has to go and do these sting operations where he's trying to catch child traffickers, child predators, and this is kind of like where he starts his work. They have been married for over 20 years, and they have 9 children. 2 of those children were actually adopted from a sting operation that he conducted in Haiti. So what we're looking at here is just video of people who are traveling to our border, the U.S. border, which Tim Ballard has spoken explicitly about how this is one of the main issues with trafficking. And if you guys don't know, in America, we have the biggest market for human trafficking, child trafficking, especially for the purposes of sex, which is horrifying to know. And it truly is something that is such an issue, and people that don't want to look at it or don't think that it's our problem, well, I've got news for you. It actually is. If it's the number one country, we're the number one country for importing these people and then getting them exported to other places, and we have the biggest market for this type of illegal, immoral, and indecent type of behavior, then it kind of is on us to do something about it. And you never know, like, you see these groups of people in this group here who is there on their own will, who might be a captive, who might be being held prisoner, who might be trafficked, who might have already been trafficked or raped, or something else horrible might have happened to them. They're all just nameless faces who are traveling along throughout South America, throughout Mexico, and then into our country. We don't know what they've been through, where they came from, and then they come to this country, and some of them being extremely damaged and then being sold, which should never happen. And it's going to cause, irreparable damage that the likes of which we have never seen in this country because of this problem here. And people want to understand, why people are so adamant about closing the U.S. border. This is why. It has nothing to do with not wanting people of different races or backgrounds coming to America. That actually has very little to do with it. As long as people want to assimilate and come to this country to make it better, then actually I don't really care where you come from, because if you have the mindset of wanting to do better and be better, then you're probably going to be a net positive for the country, which is fine. It's when people want to come here illegally and then become a drain, or even worse, become a detriment to our society, in the example of human trafficking. That's when we start to have a problem, and that is more often than not what is happening. They are trafficking drugs, people, children, and then coming here and earning money illegally, sending it back to their home countries, milking our resources, and that is the entire issue, like, in a nutshell. And so if you want to know why people are adamant about this, that's why. You can come in the right way, so we have documentation. We know who you are. We know where you came from, or don't come at all, because it only leads to more sorrow, more suffering, and just a complete and utter failure on the part of the U.S. as a country and as a moral society that we hope to live in. So, all right. Tim Ballard is a former undercover operative for the U.S. Department of Homeland Safety. And after leaving this government agency, he founded Operation Underground Railroad, a non-profit organization that is dedicated to fighting real-life human trafficking rings all around the world. So he was working for the U.S. Department of Homeland Safety, doing basic, predator, like how to catch predator type of stings, where they were doing internet sex trafficking crimes or even child pornography crimes. So I believe that was the division that he worked for with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and, which is also very important and very needed work to be done. But once he got more involved in the rescuing of children who were victims of child sex trafficking, that's whenever he really became more invested in the mission at hand of rescuing these children abroad and stopping them before they get to this country to then be sold off to the highest bidder. And so that is where he founded the Operation Underground Railroad. So he quit his job at the Department of Homeland Security to carry out the rescue mission. And similar to how events were played out in the movie, but the movie only chronicled one case, and there are so many different examples and missions that he has since been on that have saved countless children and have changed countless lives for the better. And people who do this kind of work, God bless them, because I could not imagine traveling to these types of places where these people come from and going into their territories where they operate in horrendous and, you know, just absolutely evil and vicious ways, going into the lion's den to basically extract these children from those situations. It is so dangerous, and it is something that people just don't give enough credence to. And the amount of disrespect that the mainstream media has given this man since this movie has become such a huge hit that it has become. And I'm going to show you guys examples of this, but we'll get to it in a second. I'm going to finish with this bio. Okay, so Ballard explained that his federal superiors told him to abort the missions that he had going on in Haiti and Colombia, which he refused to do as he felt it defeated the purpose of his duties. He said, I quote, "I was told come home on both of them," he recalled. They were both major cases. A significant hit against human trafficking would have taken place. There I am thinking they're asking me to come home once again, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay, and that means I have to quit my job, which is exactly what he did. And this is all documented in the movie. So during the interview that he gave at this time, Ballard revealed that he was able to carry out the missions thanks to funding from Glenn Beck, a conservative political commentator who's worked for CNN, Fox News, and The Blaze TV. Shout out to Glenn Beck. So he talked specifically about how whenever he was told to come home from the missions that he was on in relation to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, well, he decided to, at that point, quit his job, and he was receiving funding for the, from the government, and that's what specifically I believe that Glenn Beck actually provided the funding to finish those missions, and that is what gave him, the idea, basically, to start this foundation, which is what he did. So after those two missions were complete, thanks to the help of Glenn Beck, he went on to found the Operation Underground Railroad organization. And according to the organization's website, the group works with government and law enforcement agencies, both domestically and internationally, to devise strategies that will assist in the fight against human trafficking. This includes gathering intelligence, offering resources, and providing care to survivors. They've also been known to carry out sting operations and share the footage on social media. So on May 14th, 2015, Ballard testified before the U.S. Congress House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Global Human Rights, during which he recommended procedures and practices for rescuing children from trafficking rings. The hearing focused on partnerships between the U.S. government and non-governmental organizations that rescue trafficking victims. And then on March 6th, 2019, Ballard testified before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee about the U.S.-Mexico border security and its relation to child sex trafficking. And he has also briefed different politicians on this issue, including most prominently President Donald Trump in January of 2019. And he trained Imperial County Sheriff's Office personnel in the use of data mining software that led to the arrest of a man suspected of distributing child pornography. So he knows what he's talking about. He is a very important freedom fighter in this particular horrifying situation that is going on all throughout the world, and he's a very important advocate. So it's important to understand what's going on in the world and to lift up people like this. And this is what's going on, guys. If you're one of those people who doesn't really like to look at this sort of thing, or just chooses to not involve yourself with the more difficult aspects of society and what's going on at our border. Well, I just want to show you this video because I think it's important to know. So this is a caravan, okay, coming from God knows where it started. It has gained people to throughout every country that they pass through. If you look out amongst the sea of people, you see mainly men, right? There are some women and children that you can see in the frame here, but not very many. And the way that they advertise joining this caravan sometimes is on Facebook, which is illegal and should be absolutely illegal because they're promoting human trafficking. So these people are sold to cartels. They are absolutely sold, and they are basically passed over throughout all these different countries by these different cartels who are making money hand over fist. They are making millions and billions of dollars, moving all of these people throughout the continents, the North American continent, and into our country to take advantage of us and completely dilate our population here and make our lives worse and our country worse. So this is what's going on. And God only knows how many of these people are here against their will, have been raped, have been sex trafficked, have been human trafficked, have been used as slaves, have been beaten. God only knows.
Vi del movimiento de gente por las noticias,
On the news.
desayunando como a las 11 de la mañana.
And that's a child. So I'm going to stop it there because I don't want to put too much exposure on children. But let's go into some of the testimony from Tim Ballard from his Judiciary Committee hearing in Congress. So let's get into this really quick. We're just going to play a little bit of this.
My desire is that their plight is heard and understood better today. Any conclusions I offer are based on real child trafficking cases that I worked on directly over the past 17 years. I started my career in the CIA. Then for 12 years, I worked as a special agent and undercover operator for Homeland Security investigations. 10 of those years, I worked combating sex trafficking along the southern border. For the last 5 years, as Chairman Graham mentioned, I served as the founder and CEO of the anti-trafficking organization Operation Underground Railroad, working hand in hand with law enforcement in 20 countries, including 22 states in this country. Operation Underground Railroad has rescued over 2,000 victims and assisted in the arrest of over 1,000 traffickers and pedophiles. Much of my work has been based on simple economics. The United States is one of the highest, if not the highest, consumers of child pornography in the world. We are the demand for child sex. As such, traffickers around the world seek to bring children to the United States where they can sell them for sex and make a lot of money. My number one personal and professional goal has been to keep these children out of the hands of these sick American pedophiles. I want to share one case in which we failed to do this. The victim was a foreign-born child around 12 years old, who we will call Lily. Lily was kidnapped south of the border. She was then taken along with several other children her age and smuggled into the United States, not through a port of entry, but rather through a part of the southern border without significant barriers or a wall. Lily's traffickers easily transported her to New York City, where she was raped between 30 and 40 times a day, and this is not atypical at all for a case like this. She believes that she alone was raped over 20,000 times between the age of 13 and 17 right here in our country. She eventually escaped, and my foundation is now caring for her as she prepares to testify in federal court against her captors. In accordance with U.S. laws, Lily, as a survivor of sex trafficking, she has been granted legal status, and we're helping her to complete the process of becoming a U.S. citizen. The U.S. Attorney's Office has requested that we not publicly share any more details about this case, as it's going to trial later this year. Recounting her experience, and this is key, Lily has often asked me a simple yet powerful question. Why was there no wall or barrier on the southern border for me? A barrier would have saved me. What is she talking about? It's pretty simple what she's talking about. During a time of crisis or emergency, each of us knows to call 911, because 911 bridges the gap between bad guys trying to hurt us and the good guys coming to help us. Lily knows that strong barriers would have likely forced her captors to take their chances at a port of entry, thus placing her face to face with well-equipped and well-trained officers who are looking for her, looking for children who are being trafficked. I would have yelled out to one of them, Lily told me regretfully. Instead, I was raped over 20,000 times.
Oh my God.
Contrast that case with another case I was the lead agent on. The trafficker was an American named Earl Buchanan. He kept children, both little boys and girls, in San Bernardino, California, where he lived, and where he repeatedly raped them and filmed it for his child pornography collection. On the night of July 3rd, 2006, Buchanan was attempting to smuggle a 5-year-old Mexican boy through the Calexico, California port of entry. Fortunately for the boy, he was coming from the Mexicali, Mexico region, which is blocked by miles and miles of significant border barriers. This compelled Buchanan to take his chances at the Calexico port of entry, where a U.S. officer had the opportunity to look Buchanan in the eye, detect that something was wrong, identify the child locked in the van, liberate that child, arrest Buchanan, who is now spending the rest of his life in jail. Subsequent to that arrest,
So you have to know that if they don't, like, this is the point that he's making. If we don't build the wall, a significant wall that actually works to keep people out, and include that with drones, smart technology to help detect people that are trying to climb over the wall. This might include sensors or even like slight shock electricity flowing through the wall. Then we're asking for this. We are inviting this into our country, because if you force these people to go in through the ports where they are supposed to go in, then they have to go through a process. There is a structure. There is oversight. Anytime someone does not go in through a port of entrance, I mean, you can almost guarantee there might be like 5% of people who may get through all the way through Mexico, past all of the different cartels that like basically have complete and utter authority over the U.S. southern border. I mean, they just do. We have absolutely no authority down there. The cartels walk around with machine guns down there, canvassing as if that is their land, their property, and their domain. So you can bet if someone does not go in through a port of entry, then they have either had to pay a cartel to get them to that point and then cross them over illegally, or they were trafficked, and that is their form of payment. And if they don't have money, then not only are they trafficked, but then they owe a debt to these cartel members. So once they get them into the country, then they are further indebted to those cartel members. So this is what he's saying. If we make sure that our southern border is completely sewn up, locked tight to the best of our ability, and granted there will be people that will get through, that's always going to be the case, but we need to minimize it to the point of like almost nothing can get across illegally. They have to come through a port of entry. It will absolutely deter, and it will absolutely decrease the problems that we're seeing now substantially. So that was his testimony before the U.S. Senate. So
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
within a half hour, this individual walks up to me, starts asking me what I'm here for, what I want, and within minutes, he says, well, I've got kids as young as 11 years old.
Ballard, a former Homeland Security agent, now heads up Operation Underground Railroad, a nonprofit group that rescues trafficked kids. After that first meeting, the Colombians asked him to put together a sting.
No men will be in here, only women.
Operation Underground Railroad spent months planning, renting this house, rigging it with hidden cameras to document the crime, coordinating with Colombian authorities, and negotiating with the traffickers.
How they find these kids is they lure them in by pretending to have a modeling agency. They target them at 9 or 10 years old. And they were telling us that about by 11, they're ready for sex. They're ready to be sold.
What is that like, looking into that kind of person's eyes?
It's horrifying, and this is why. Because I've got a smile in the face of evil. This is the table where we're going to do the negotiation.
Less than 24 hours after the operatives landed, the suspected traffickers arrived on the island, and the final deal with the undercover team began. 54 boys and girls aged 11 to 18 were ushered in for what had been billed as a sex party. They were given candy and drinks and told to wait in this small room.
this little 11-year-old boy, I remember. He asked one of my operatives if they could give him some cocaine or something. He said, they usually give me something because I'm really scared.
By the time the deal was done, the alleged traffickers were set to make $25,000. That transaction was never completed. 25 Colombian special operatives stormed the party, arresting 5 suspects, 4 men and 1 former beauty queen, all charged with child trafficking. The victims, 29 of whom are under 18, were evacuated, given medical exams, and placed in a rehabilitation center where specialists are working to undo the damage.
Right before I got in the boat, we had to walk by this room where the kids were, and they put their hand up. And I touched their hand and see that there's liberation now.
Liberating one child at a time. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, New York.
So very powerful mission there that Tim Ballard is doing. And he is quite literally doing the Lord's work. So we have to recognize these people and understand what they have to go through. Also, I wanted to also show you guys this video here. This man actually he does different videos all throughout the country. Basically, kind of similar to like that channel, if you guys are aware, like Soft White Underbelly. He just interviews all different kinds of people. And in this particular video, so I like his channel, he was interviewing a human smuggler at the U.S.-Mexico border. So let's watch just a little bit of this.
Good afternoon, guys. Well, I got quite a video coming to you in just a couple minutes time. I'm gonna meet someone that works independently as a contractor under a cartel. And if I seem a bit relaxed, it's because we were going to do it in Mexico, and now we're doing it here in McAllen.
Yeah.
I have to have my phone shut off. We have to meet in a public place. And what are we gonna get into? Well, it's not just happening below the border here. Human trafficking is happening in the States. And so when migrants come over, there's a whole network, there's a whole business model, there's a whole industry, and that's what we're gonna learn about very soon. And I'm gonna see how far, I don't wanna press boundaries, but I'm gonna see how much information I can get about this, let's call it industry, that really none of us know about.
Some of us
should be interesting. Okay, let's do this. I was driven to a location unknown to me. My phone was shut off. The name I called the trafficker Tony is not his real name. His face was covered and his voice altered for this video. All right, guys.
What in the world? I would not have gone this place. Absolutely freaking not.
And Raul, who's gonna translate.
Oh, this is sketchy.
And this is Tony. And I think we just want to start it off by, like, what does Tony do exactly?
¿Qué haces exactamente, Tony?
Yo trabajo independientemente de Norteamérica.
Okay, basically what he's saying, his job is, he's an independent, you can say contractor, that gets paid by the cartel to bring people, they bring people across into Texas. Once they get to their destination in Houston, it's up to them where they go or what they do.
Okay, so...
But he also said that he works very different from everybody else. He does get paid for what he does.
Okay.
He says, I do it to help all people out, even though I do get paid. My job is to get them to wherever they're trying to go.
Who are his clients right now?
Más o menos, ¿quiénes son sus clientes ahorita? ¿Como gente de dónde?
Yo prefiero trabajar más con mexicanos y quitarte el trabajo que tú hiciste.
Okay. Basically, what he's saying is that he prefers to work with with Mexicans instead of people from other countries. And the reason why he prefers to work with them, with Mexicans that are trying to come into the United States instead of people from other countries, and for the simple reason that a lot of times they don't pay or they have problems with them once they get to their final destination and stuff like that. So he prefers to work with Mexicans or people from Mexico.
Okay, so can you explain the term human trafficker? Because I think of something terrible, right? Like.
And it is? What the hell?
It's basically just you take money from someone's paying you directly, and you're getting them from point A to point B. Is that the story, or?
¿Cómo exactamente jala tu trabajo?
And is that not horrible? Like, what the? What in the world? People are like, okay, I hope this is not a fluff piece. I did not watch this before, and I will take this right the fuck out, because to try to put a blanket over human oh, I thought it was this, and you're trafficking a human. You are taking money to move a person. If you're doing, if like immigration is this great thing where people should just have open borders and everyone should just be able to, like, you know, travel freely wherever they want to go, then how can you ever condone human trafficking? Okay? You're taking advantage of these people. They are coming from poor countries, selling them a wolf ticket to get into this country, thinking that shit's going to be pleasant for them. And most of them, the majority of them, are not willing to assimilate and are not willing to do the work that it takes to become successful in this country. So what do they end up doing? They end up becoming criminals. They end up becoming dependents on the government. They end up becoming a drain on society. There's no portion of this that could ever be good. But I'll let you finish, I guess.
Everything starts in Mexico.
Okay.
Point B would be here in the valley.
The valley being right over the Rio Grande River, McAllen, Texas.
Southern tip of Texas.
Okay.
Basically, he could work either here in the valley or work in the Laredo area. Even though it might belong to somebody else, since he's an independent contractor,
belong to someone else.
He could work for anybody with any different cartel or whoever's willing to pay him to do something.
So the cartel contracts him?
Yes.
Okay. And they say, Tony, we need what, like one person, a van of people? How does this work?
Exactamente, cuando te hablan, ¿cómo te dicen? Necesito una persona.
Es de 5 personas a 8 personas. No puedo.
He'd rather do from 5 to 8 people at a time. He does not like doing a bunch of people at one time. That way he doesn't get heat in the long run. Or get, you know what, draw too much attention where they start watching him, whether it's the government from here or the government from Mexico or just somebody in general.
So most people think when they think trafficking, at least I did, I thought it only happened mostly below the border. But does Tony say there's a lot going on in the U.S. right now?
Are you kidding? Don't
Cuando él pensó de gente moviendo.
Las personas que ahorita están llegando como...
He's saying that he cannot judge anybody for wanting to come to the United States.
Okay.
No. I'm gonna just cut you off there. You know, because this is getting a little too friendly for me. It's becoming a little too trying to make light of this or trying to make this into something that it's not. And that's not what it is. Again, I've already explained it, you know, and I'm not going to keep harping on the same point over and over again. This is not something that is moral. This is not something that is so ethical. It's not. It's the opposite of all of that. So we're not going to pretend otherwise. So let's move on, guys. I want to show y'all just some of the insanity that this man, the pushback that he has been getting from the media because he made this movie, because he does what he does. I truly believe it's more so the mission that he is personally on, not so much the movie. The movie is just bringing awareness to his cause, and they hate that as well. But recently, you know, he's been getting a lot of heat online because this movie has gained so much steam and so much popularity. But there has been a target on this man's back from the get-go, because like I said before, this is a very prominent and profitable situation that these people have going on. The cartels make a shit ton of money, okay? People are getting kickbacks from all of these different things. You know, the politicians use all of these people as, you know, to push and further their political agenda. And not only that, there's so many different perverts in this country that are benefiting from being able to have access to vulnerable children from different countries who don't speak English or know any better. I mean, it's an all-around horrible and very evil situation and very evil practice that we are participating in. And they don't want to put an end to it because they are benefiting from it. And so Tim Ballard is a thorn in the side of the global elite pedophiles and those who profit off of human trafficking. So this was a story about how basically a Utah prosecutor has targeted the group Operation Underground Railroad for what exactly? Let's see.
Has learned that prosecutors are looking into several allegations.
Let's hear them.
Quieto, al suelo todos al suelo, This is video from a 2014 human trafficking sting in Colombia. Members of Operation Underground Railroad working with local law enforcement.
Silencio! Silencio!
There were about 54 girls ranging in age from 10 to 16, and they were expecting to have sex with all these Americans.
They're selling these kids to you like they're selling a car or a computer. At our party, they brought 5 11-year-olds, including one little boy, 11 years old, who were being offered as virgins, and you pay a premium for that. That's $1,000.
Many of those who work with Operation Underground Railroad, including its founder, Tim Ballard, and Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes, have experience in law enforcement. They say the issue of human trafficking has no borders. After the event, Reyes declined to answer questions about the nonprofit. The Davis County Attorney's Office is also saying little about its case, but Fox 13 has learned County Attorney Troy Rawlings posted a series of messages on his personal Instagram account last month. Quote, "Please beware of any individual, entity, or organization who solicits your money and may be claiming credit for work to protect children that is actually done by our task force. They have had absolutely zero involvement in any of these arrests and successful prosecutions you see on display on the wall of shame in the Davis County Attorney's Office."
And did they ever
The
say
messages
that they
did not name Operation Underground Railroad directly. According to public records, the nonprofit's revenue has more than tripled over a span of 4 years.
Good.
Let's do it, man.
So basically, the prosecutor in this state is going after him because he wants to maintain his credit for what he's done. You know, he doesn't want anyone else to get any sort of recognition for anything that they might be doing. It can't just be like a collective effort to stop all of this disgusting madness. It just has to be, you know, a selfish endeavor for some people. And he's going after this organization for different, I guess, like money crimes potentially, and you know, things that he feels are suspicious, like the fact that they have increased their donations over time, and they think that they're getting donations from shady entities, or they don't like where all of this money is coming from, or more specifically where it's going to, which is the cause to end all of this trafficking. So I think that's really the crux of it. I don't want to get too far into it because, as it turns out, well, the county attorney's office actually ended up closing the investigation into Operation Underground Railroad, and they basically had no case. They are just trying to smear this man in the media. Ever since this has become such a huge deal, basically, this has become very mainstream as of recent years. People are becoming more aware, and they don't love to see it, guys. They really do hate it. So let me just show you this. This is truly astonishing. This is one example that I was talking about. This article is disgusting, okay? Oh my God, please let me read it. So basically, this guy here, I just want to show y'all, because the article headline says, "Convicted of sex crimes but with no victims. An online sting operation to catch child predators snared hundreds of men. What were they really guilty of?" What were they really guilty of? Well, you know, in the very same article, funny enough, they describe exactly what they're guilty of, and I will link this whole thing in the description, but they basically go on to describe how this man solicits sex online for money, you know, prostitution. And so he buys sex with women from Craigslist, but as it turns out, on one lonely day, whenever I guess his hand wasn't doing the trick, he logged online and typed in his little Craigslist password and login information, and ended up finding someone who was a fellow gamer, you know, and really clicked with this person, okay? Just a gamer girl sitting home on a sunny day, it read, "We can chat as long as I'm not leveling." And so the pedophile, or the predator, Hambrick emailed back, "Sounds like fun. What game are you playing?" And then she goes on to say the game, And then the pedophile, Hambrick, says, forget sex, Hambrick wrote. Let me come watch. I haven't gotten that one yet. Adding that he was 20. And 15 minutes later, Gamer Girl replied that she was 13. Hambrick was confused. Why did you post an ad in Craigslist if you're 13? Do you mean 23? You know what the fuck she means, perv. Okay? Herbert, the pervert, you know what she means. Stop. Just stop. She asked for his cell phone number and they switched to texting, exchanging photos. So after this man knew that he was talking to a 13-year-old, which, granted, their argument, the New York Times magazine argument here, is that, well, he wasn't really talking to a 13-year-old. He was talking to an undercover agent. So that makes it okay, because there wasn't a quote-unquote real victim. But see, the way that it works, New York Times Magazine, and for those of you out there who don't follow, is that if it was a real 13-year-old girl, this is how it would have progressed. So it's a problem, okay? Because it didn't deter him. The fact that this girl told him she was 13 years old, he did not care. He went on to carry on inappropriate conversations with this child. Doesn't matter who he didn't know was on the other side of the phone, okay? This stuff goes on all the time. Let's not act brand new. Let's not forget Chris Hansen, would you like to have a seat? And you're on To Catch a Predator, okay? Because bing, bam, boom, we got you. Doesn't matter that you were talking to 50-year-old Larry over there on the computer pretending to be a 12-year-old girl, okay? The fact of the matter is, if there was a 12-year-old girl on the other side of that computer screen, you would have been talking to them. It doesn't deter you that you know that you're talking to a child. So let me continue. So, you know, Gamer Girl was beautiful, he thought. Gross. If he wasn't being pranked. Big eyes, cute white cap. And they're talking about a child here, okay? So this whole article is giving pedophile. Gazing up at the camera serenely with a really nice set of headphones. Oh, is that what they call them these days? Headphones, eh? They exchanged a few texts about sex. I can be real bad if you're into bondage, he typed. Let's look at him again. Wait. He's into oh. Okay. He's into bondage. Okay, girl. Whatever. Anyways. But he was already hoping for more than just sex. What, was he in love with her? I don't get out much, he texted. I feel like if we got to talking, it might go somewhere. You're beautiful and a gamer. I have no problem hanging out with you. Where's it gonna go? I mean, she can't even drive. She's like 3 years away from even getting a driver's license. Where are y'all gonna go? I hope you got a car, because she ain't driving. And she replied, that's Kewl. Kewl. Gamer Girl replied, what about eating out stuff? With a smiley face. And he said, yes, I will still do that, with a smiley face. And she says, oh my naughty boy. So this is the conversation that the New York Times Magazine is supposedly purporting that was a victimless crime, and who was really hurt over this. Okay, this is what they're advocating for. Was this an elaborate game? Again, she claimed to be 13. The photo seemed to tell a different story, and the gaming chair she was seated in looked too expensive for a kid. She used slang a 13-year-old probably wouldn't know, like FTP, that originated in 80s hip-hop. The vulgarities and snide tone seemed too adult. Her texts were full of LOLs. Was she an immature teenager or a sly adult? What are y'all even trying to say? This article gives me the creeps, okay? I feel like you are very gross. Whoever wrote this, you're disgusting, and I don't like you. So, they go on. Her driving directions seemed too specific for 13. Hambrick texted that he would be driving a red Prius. Gay? Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't even... Hambrick texted that he would be driving a red Prius. His mother's. So he don't even have a car. So they definitely ain't going nowhere. You can see it going somewhere. Where? Because you ain't got a car, and neither does she. So I don't think y'all going any damn fucking where. The gamer girl replied she would be wearing a gray sweatshirt and ripped jeans. And then this quote from him: if she was 13, I was going to turn around and walk away. Well, yeah, that's what they all say, isn't it? Isn't that what they all fucking say? Until you got Chris Hansen in your face telling you to have a seat. So, yeah. It was a 20-minute drive to the house in suburban Vancouver. After stopping... Okay, wait. After stopping for condoms, he arrived at 7 p.m. What? Excuse me? Hello? Sir? Why? What you doing with those? What you doing with those? Hello? Weren't you going to turn around and walk away if she was 13? So you're telling me that after going and getting condoms and working your little micro penis up into its full force of an inch, you were going to open the door to see a 13-year-old girl sitting there, and you were going to turn your happy, sick ass around and go back home and say, oh, I see. You were really a child. I must go. I must go. I cannot be here. And you were going to get back into your car with your micro penis boner and just go home? I don't think so, buddy. I don't know who you're fooling. I don't know who you people are advocating for or against. In this case, the New York Times magazine is advocating for a pedophile and trying to make it seem like, well, it's not that bad, guys. Like, we can get behind it, right? Like, this is, I mean, who's this really hurting? Somebody. It's hurting lots of people. Lots of people are getting hurt. Lots of people are getting hurt. And if you don't know that, you're just too stupid to know that, which I highly doubt this writer, whoever wrote this article from the New York Times, is just like a low-key pervert and a disgusting individual who is going straight to hell for even trying to mainstream this idea that this is okay on any freaking level, okay? Because it's not. It's just not. I'm like disgusted. Okay, so 3.5 hours after their first emails. Okay, wait, I'm sorry. So after okay, I like every time I read another sentence, it's like it gets worse and worse. So after 3.5 hours of their first emails, so you're telling me that they emailed about nasty sex, weird sex, game, and fucking, you know, fell in love with her after 3 hours, went and got condoms, and then you're at her house? Okay. She came to the door just as she'd said, in torn jeans and gray sweatshirt, as beautiful as her photo. She didn't look 13 at all. More like she was in her 20s. And you can tell that from just looking at somebody, guys. Did y'all not know that? People have their age. Actually, if you look closely enough in the middle of someone's forehead, it actually prints their age onto their forehead, so you can know without a shadow of a doubt that they're of legal age. So, you made it, she called out, and waved for him to follow. Court documents would later show. When he got inside, she disappeared down a hallway, and suddenly 2 police officers wearing bulletproof vests appeared from a back room, ordered him to lie on the floor, and handcuffed him. What's going on? Hambrick asked. We're going to advise you you're under arrest. Okay, why? He said. We'll explain it all in just a moment, one of the officers answered. Is it possible if I could talk to my mom? I need to talk to my mom. I got her car. I need to return her Prius, my mom's Prius. What a fucking loser. And he said, the officer said, that's not possible right now. Okay, so this is what they're saying. Well, no, nobody was hurt. You know what, New York Times Magazine? Go and fornicate yourself, okay? Because this man's disgusting. Apparently, this was the picture with her hot-ass headphones. I mean, those are some sexy headphones that just really got his little tiny wiener going. And just look at his face again. I'm sure that's his mother, who he probably also has sex with. I don't know, allegedly. Everything's alleged, but this is disgusting. I will link this whole article because it's probably worth your time. It's probably got a few more laughs in it. So, moving right along, guys. I just want to know, what are your thoughts on everything that we've watched and all of this that's going on? Did you guys see The Sound of Freedom? Do y'all know about what's going on with the U.S. border? What are your thoughts, guys? Let me know. I mean, it's a very, very horrific topic to even discuss, and it's sad to understand the scope of what's going on, but we have to begin to open our eyes and look at this. 2 million child sex slaves, okay, throughout the world, not just overseas or in third world countries, but in America, okay? So, it's a problem. And it's happening every day. It's happening all over. It's close to where you live. People like Hambrick, who we just talked about, you know, that they are your next door neighbor, okay? And they are chatting online with your children, meeting up with them after buying condoms, trying to have sex with them. So it has to end. It has to end. And so the difficult things are going to have to be discussed. That's just the fact of the matter. It is extremely detrimental, and it is extremely important to understand and be involved in what's going on at every level that you can be. So y'all let me know, guys, what y'all think, and please like the video if you guys liked it. I would very much appreciate that, and it really would help me out. And let me know what you think, guys. Go follow me on Twitter as well, and y'all try to stay safe out there, because it's a scary ass world that we're living in, and we all need to stick together, and the good people will overcome as long as we do the work. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So until next time, y'all take it easy out there. Sorry for the heavy subject matter, but it's important, and it is very imperative that we address this and put an end to it once and for all, as much as we can. And it takes a village. So you guys, I will see y'all later. All right, bye.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people. The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.